Today a reader, tomorrow a leader. SSET Englishtown.
Hello and welcome to another SSET video. Today we are doing reading. Our class is 2A reading. It's the Monday, Wednesday, Friday class in RT 504. We are studying a new book called Frog and Toad. This is the book here, so make sure you have the book ready. Today we are doing the workbook, page 55. And for homework, you will be doing page 56, but I will explain how to do the homework for you because it is a little bit complicated, but once I explain a few things, then you should be able to do the homework on your own. So we are going to do Frog and Toad, our friends. Before we read the book, we're going to answer a few questions and then we'll get in and we will read the book. So make sure you have Frog and Toad and your reading workbook ready for the 2A class, the reading class, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. It is the 4 o'clock class, the 4 o'clock class on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So if you don't have your 2 books, just pause the video, get your books, come back, and then restart the video. So let's get stuck into the reading workbook first. We will read the book very shortly. But first, we will do page 55. So please open your books to page 55. All right, so let's do question number 1. Question number 1 is, look at the cover of the book. Look at the cover of the book. What is the title of the book? Very easy question. What is the title? The title is Frog and Toad Are Friends. All right, so make sure you write your answers in complete sentences. So make sure you write a full sentence when you write an answer. So question number 1. The title is Frog and Toad Are Friends. Frog and Toad Are Friends. That is the title of the book. Very easy question. All right, make sure you start with capitals, finish with a period. And also, just a quick grammar point for you. Why do I have capitals for all these letters at the beginning of the words? Why do I have capitals here? Why don't I have a capital for this one? Well, because this is the title of the book, the most important words must have capitals. This word is not that important in relation to the title of the book, so you don't need to use a capital for that word there. All right, so that is question 1. What is the title of the book? The title is Frog and Toad Are Friends. Quite easy. All right, let's move on to question number 2. Question number 2 is, who is the author of the book and who drew the pictures in this book? Now, this has 2 questions, so make sure you answer both questions. So the first one is, who is the author of the book? The author is the person who wrote the book. So who wrote the book? Have a look at your book. It says, by Arnold Lobel. Arnold Lobel. So the author of the book is Arnold Lobel. The author of the book is Arnold Lobel. Please make sure you spell the names right. Now this one has 2 questions. So the second part of the question is, who drew the pictures in this book? Who drew the pictures in the book? Now have a look at the book. On the front cover, does it say who drew the pictures? It doesn't say who drew the pictures. So how do we find out who drew the pictures? Let's have a look. If you have a look inside your book, inside the cover, it has a lot of information here. If you have a look through here, it might tell you who drew the pictures. Usually it would tell you on the front of the cover. If it's not on the front, it might tell you here. If it's not here, have a look here. It might tell you who drew the pictures here. If it's not, go to the back of the book, have a look at the back, and see if you can find who drew the pictures. Now this one is a little bit tricky. Right down the bottom, this is on my book. I'm not sure if you have the same book. I'm sure you probably do. Now right down the bottom on mine, it says cover art by Arnold Lobel. Cover art. So he drew the cover. He drew the cover. And if I have a look through my book, I'm having a look on another page here. Okay, and it says artwork by Arnold Lobel. So he was the author, plus he drew all the pictures. So we can change this sentence here. The author of the book is Arnold Lobel, and he drew the pictures. We had two questions to answer here. All I've done is made one sentence that answers both questions, just by joining the two sentences together by using and. So I've got the author of the book is Arnold Lobel, and he drew the picture. So it's a very simple sentence, and it answers both questions very adequately. All right, so let's move on to question number 3. All right, have a look in your book. Question number 3. Have you read any other books by this author? So if you know this author, Arnold Lobel, and you've read other books by him, please write it down in question number 3, what those books were called. It also says in question 3, it asks you, did you like those books that you read by this author? If you did, just write your answer here. So I will leave that up to you to write. If you want, you can pause the video, write your answer. If you haven't read any books by him, you can just simply write, I have not read any books by this author before. All right, so let's move on to question number 4. Question number 4. It asks us, what do you see in the picture? Now, what do you see in the picture? It is talking about the cover of the book, the cover of the book. So have a look at the cover of your book. What do you have here? We have a frog here on the right, the green frog, and we have a toad on the left. The toad is reading a book. So they're just sitting down together reading a book. Now question 5 asks us, I'm going to write question 4 in a minute, but question 5 does ask us, what are they doing in the picture? So for question 4, we don't need to write what they are doing in the picture. So question 4, let's answer question 4. What do you see in the picture? So we have a frog and a toad sitting down together. So question 4, what are they doing? Question 4, what do you see on the cover? So on the cover of the book, there is a frog and a toad sitting together. Question 4, just again, question was, what do you see in the picture? Now there's a couple of things I want to discuss here with you. Let's answer the question first. On the cover of the book, there is a frog and a toad sitting together. Now we've made sure that we answered in a complete sentence, but there's something I want to just quickly bring up with you here. The book is called Frog and Toad Are Friends. Frog and Toad are friends. So what do you think their names are? What do you think their names are? If the book is called Frog and Toad, so their names are probably Frog and Toad. It doesn't say a frog and a toad are friends. It says Frog frog and toad. So going by this is a good indication, or this tells us that the two characters' names are frog and toad. Now, if that's the case, if their names are frog and toad, why haven't I made a capital letter out of the frog and the toad? Why have I just used the small letters? Now, I'll answer the question for you. This is something that a lot of students have a lot of difficulty with, especially when they're writing book reports. Because I've just referred to the characters as a frog and a toad, I'm not calling them by their names. So I don't need to have a capital F and I don't need to have a capital T here. If I changed my answer and I wrote on the cover of the book, there is a character called frog and a character called toad, then I would have to change these to what? I would have to have a capital for the start of their names because they are proper nouns, or they are names that require a capital letter. All right. So make sure whenever you do your book reports and you see a cover title, I often get a sentence saying the main characters are a frog and a toad, and they will have capital letters, where you don't need to. That's incorrect. Okay, it's only when you refer to them by their name that you must have a capital. All right, so let's move on to question number 5. Now, question 5, I asked you earlier, what are they doing in the picture? What are they doing in the picture? The toad is on the left-hand side here. The toad is the brown color, and the frog is the green color. So what are they doing? Toad is reading a book. And frog, what do you think he's doing? He's probably just listening to Toad reading the book. So Toad is reading the book and frog is listening. Frog is listening. Now, here, I have called them by their names. So I have made sure that I have used a capital T and a capital F because I have called them Toad and Frog. So question number 6. Do you think they are friendly with each other? Are they friendly with each other? So let's have a look at the cover. Their faces will give you a good indication, a good answer. Do they look angry with each other? Do they look unhappy with each other? Do they look sad? No. Looks like Toad has a bit of a smile on his face, and Frog is, he's got his finger at his mouth and he's like, it looks like he's thinking while he's listening to the story. And here it says Frog and Toad are friends. So just by looking at the picture, you can answer the question that they are friends. So question number 6 was, do they look friendly with each other? Yes. They look friendly with each other. Do they look friendly with each other? Yes, they look friendly with each other. So we have one more question. Question number 7. Now, I'm just going to erase this, but if you need time to write, please just pause the video, complete the questions, and then start the video again. I will leave question 6 here because question 7 is the last question. So question number 7. What do you think the book will be about? And we have to answer why. So we've got 2 questions we need to answer here. What do you think the book will be about? Usually you can tell what a book will be about simply by reading the title. The title is Frog and Toad Are Friends. So what do you think the book will be about? This is something that you probably need to answer by yourself because everyone might have a different answer. I will give you an example. So I think the book will be about two friends, Frog and Toad. And perhaps they might have a few journeys together, they might have a few adventures, they might do a few things. So I think the book will be about what Frog and Toad do together. So I will write my answer. Okay, there we go. So I think the book will be about what Frog and Toad do together. So that's what I think. If you think it might be something different, then please, you write the answer that you think is correct, because there's no wrong or right answer for that question. It's what you think the book will be about and why. We have to answer why. Why do I think that? Well, if I look at the cover, I can see that the title is Frog and Toad are friends. I can see that they're sitting together, reading a book, looking quite friendly. So I'm going to say because, so I'm going to change to a comma, because of the title and the picture on the front. So there we go. I have answered the two questions just in one simple sentence. So I think the book will be about what Frog and Toad do together because of the title and the cover picture. Now quickly, just one more thing. A lot of students will make a period here and then start with because. This is not incorrect, but we're trying to teach you a better way of writing. So don't do this. Just do this for now. And when you really become good at English, you can learn when is the best time to use because and to start a sentence. But now, please don't start sentences with and or because. Just continue on and make a continuous one sentence. That way I'm answering both questions. The sentence is correct and I've answered what they've asked me to answer. So they are the 7 questions that you need to answer for page 55. Page 55. Now, there's one other thing that we need to do. So take some time to finish this. If you need to pause, and then press play again to start before we move on to the next part of question 55. So when you are ready to go, please just either continue, pause, or come back. All right, so the next part of page 55 is what is the difference? What is the difference here? We have a few questions that we need to answer. So we're still doing page 55. What is the difference? So number 1 is Frog and Toad are friends. If you have a look at 1 and 2, the sentences are very similar. Frog and Toad are friends. Now, I explained this to you a little earlier. Frog and Toad, in that sentence, it is telling us the names of the two characters. So Frog and Toad. So it's not saying a frog and a toad are friends. It's saying Frog and Toad, like Peter and Billy, or Jenny and Sarah are friends. It's not saying a boy and a girl. It's saying the two characters' names. So that's why we have the capital letters, like I explained to you before. The second sentence, very similar, but it's different in a little way here. Number 2. The frog and Toad are friends. So the frog and Toad are friends. The frog and the toad are friends. Now remember how I explained to you, because we're not calling them by their names, we're just referring to them as the type of characters they are. The characters they are is a frog and a toad. So the frog and toad are friends, so they're not capitalized. Questions 3 and 4 are together, 3 and 4. Mom said that we will go camping this weekend. Mom said we will go camping this weekend. Sentence number 4. My mom likes to go camping. My mom likes to go camping. So what is the difference here? Sentence 3. Even though mom is the first word of the sentence, then you know it has to be capitalized. But this sentence is talking about mom as a name. That's what we call our mothers, mom. So that's the name that we use for them. So in that instance, mom would have a capital M anyway, even though it's the first letter of the first word of the sentence. So the next one, my mom. My mom likes to go camping. My mom likes to go camping. I'm not referring to her as her name. I'm just referring to her as the person that she is. She's my mom. So my mom. Now if you have a look down the bottom here, it has 3 stars. And it gives you a little bit of information, which is really helpful. Now the first star is, if a word is used as a name, then it's capitalized. We know that. In 2A, you know that you have to capitalize proper nouns. Proper nouns are names of people, places, and things, like South Korea, Seoul. The second star, if it is not used as a name, but put an article. What are articles? Remember, articles are the, or a. These are articles. Put an article or a possessive pronoun. Possessive pronouns are my, because I have something. What do I have? I have a mother, so my mom. Your mother, that's possessive, that's your mom. That's something you have. So my mom, your mom, her mom. So you put those in front and you don't have to capitalize the word. So that's what they've done here. My mom likes to go camping. So mom in this sentence doesn't need a capital M. But in sentence 3, I'm talking about my mom, mom as her name. Mom said that we will go camping this weekend. Let's move on to sentence 5 and sentence 6. She likes to visit her grandma. She likes to visit her grandma. Her is what? Her is the possessive pronoun. That is, someone has something. What does the girl have? Her grandma. Her grandma. So in this instance, like my mom, I don't have to use a capital for grandma. But sentence 6, we love to visit grandma. We love to visit grandma. I'm referring to, so that's the name that I use for her. So I'm talking about her as her name, grandma. Same as here as in mom. So you have to use a capital. We love to visit grandma. We love to visit mom. We love to visit dad. They are names that we are using to describe those people that are our relatives. So in this case, you have to use a capital. So that is the difference between those. Make sure you read the 3 stars here. It's very helpful and it will explain this to you. So I hope you understand this. It's quite easy. Read it again and it'll give you a good explanation. All right, now let's have a look at this. Page 55 has finished. Now before we read the book, we will read the book first. Only the first 2 chapters. We're just going to do the first 2 chapters. I'm not going to read the whole book because it's quite lengthy and we will do each chapter, we will do in class anyway. So I just want to read the first 2 chapters so you get a good indication about what the story is about. All right, so make sure you have your book. I'm going to read nice and slow, so please read along. Then, after we have finished the 2 chapters, we are going to look at the vocabulary list. The vocab list. So you know what words are in this book that might be a little bit hard. You can always refer back to the vocabulary list. All right, so let's get stuck into the book. Make sure you have your book. We are going to read the first 2 chapters. Now, the book is Frog and Toad Are Friends. This book has 5 stories. We are going to read the first story, which is called Spring, and we will do the second story called The Story. So let's do the first story, which is called Spring. Frog ran up to the path to Todd's house. He knocked on the front door. There was no answer. "Toad, Toad," shouted Frog. "Wake up! It is spring." "Blah," said a voice from inside the house. "Toad, Toad," cried Frog. "The sun is shining. The snow is melting. Wake up!" "I am not here," said the voice. Page 6. Frog walked into the house. It was dark. All the shutters were closed. "Toad, where are you?" called Frog. "Go away," said the voice from a corner of the room. Toad was lying in bed. Page 7. He had pulled all the covers over his head. Frog pushed Toad out of bed. He pushed him out of the house and onto the front porch. Toad blinked in the bright sun. "Help," said Toad. "I cannot see anything." Page 8. "Don't be silly," said Frog. "What you see is the clear, warm light of April, and it means that we can begin a whole new year together." "Think of it," said Frog. "We will skip through the meadows and run through the woods and swim in the river. In the evenings, we will sit right here on this front porch and count the stars." "You can count them, Frog," said Toad. "I will be too tired. I am going back to bed." Toad went back into the house. He got into the bed and pulled the covers over his head again. "But Toad," cried Frog, "you will miss all the fun." "Listen, Frog," said Toad. "How long have I been asleep?" "You have been asleep since November," said Frog. "Well then," said Toad, "a little more sleep will not hurt me. Come back again and wake me up at about 1/2 May. Good night, Frog." Page 12. "But Toad," said Frog, "I will be lonely until then." Toad did not answer. He had fallen asleep. Frog looked at Toad's calendar. The November page was still on top. Frog tore off the November page. He tore off the December page, and the January page, the February page, and the March page. He came to the April page. Frog tore off the April page too. Page 14. Then Frog ran back to Toad's bed. "Toad, Toad, wake up! It is May now." "What?" said Toad. "Can it be May so soon?" "Yes," said Frog. "Look at your calendar." Toad looked at the calendar. The May page was on top. Page 15. "Why, it is May," said Toad as he climbed out of bed. Then he and Frog ran outside to see how the world was looking in the spring. So that is the first story called Spring. The second story is called The Story. This is the last story that we'll do, and then we will do some vocabulary. All right, so here we go, the story. One day in summer, Frog was not feeling well. "Toad," said Frog, "you are looking quite green." "But I always look green," said Frog. "I am a frog." "Today you look very green, even for a frog," said Toad. "Get into my bed and rest." Toad made Frog a cup of hot tea. Frog drank the tea and then he said, "Tell me a story while I am resting." Page 18. All right, said Toad. Let me think of a story to tell you. Toad thought and thought, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Page 19. I will go out on the front porch and walk up and down, said Toad. Perhaps that will help me to think of a story. Toad walked up and down on the porch for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Page 20. Then Toad went into the house and stood on his head. Why are you standing on your head? Asked Frog. I hope that if I stand on my head, it will help me think of a story, said Toad. Toad stood on his head for a long time, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Page 22. Then Toad poured a glass of water over his head. Why are you pouring water over your head? Asked Frog. I hope that if I pour water over my head, it will help me to think of a story, said Toad. Toad poured many glasses of water over his head, but he could not think of a story to tell Frog. Page 24. Then Toad began to bang his head against the wall. Why are you banging your head against the wall? Asked Frog. I hope that if I bang my head against the wall hard enough, it will help me to think of a story, said Toad. I am feeling much better now, Toad, said Frog. I do not think I need a story anymore. Then you get out of bed and let me get into it, said Toad, because now I feel terrible, Frog said. Would you like me to tell you a story, Toad? Yes, said Toad, if you know one. Page 26. Once upon a time, said Frog, there were two good friends, a frog and a toad. The frog was not feeling well. He asked his friend, the toad, to tell him a story. The toad could not think of a story. He walked up and down on the porch, but he could not think of a story. He stood on his head, but he could not think of a story. He poured water over his head, but he could not think of a story. Page 27. He banged his head against the wall, but he still could not think of a story. Then the toad did not feel so well, and the frog was feeling better. So the toad went to bed, and the frog got up and told him a story. The end. How was that, Toad? Said Frog. But Toad did not answer. He had fallen asleep. So that is the story. So we have read the first two chapters for Frog and Toad are friends. Now, one more thing. Before we go, we have to quickly do a few vocabulary words. Now, why is the vocab important? Vocab is important because it's usually words that you may not know or that you will find quite difficult to understand when you read a book. So make sure if you read the book and you don't understand the word and the word is in your vocabulary list, read the definition and try and replace that word with the definition and it should help you. All right, so let's do the first few words. So the first one is a path. What is a path? A path is a small road that you walk on, usually in the woods or mountains. Now in this story there is a path here. Picture of a path on page 50. So the two characters, the frog and the toad, are walking up the path. The next word is knock, or past tense, knocked. To hit against something like a door. So if you want to knock on a door, you knock on a door. And the past tense, knocked, ed. Next word, blah. Now do you remember in the story, spring? Frog was trying to get Toad out of bed. Todd replied on page 4. Frog said, Toad, Toad, shouted Frog. Wake up, it is spring. Blah, said a voice. So Toad was replying blah. So what did he mean by that? Blah means you say this when you don't feel like doing or eating something. So remember, Toad was still in bed. So he said blah because he didn't want to get out of bed. He didn't want to do anything. So he just said blah. All right, the next word is voice. I'm sure you know what the definition of voice is. But in the book it says, the sound that comes from your mouth when you talk or sing. That is your voice. Next one is melt or melting. Melt. To turn from solid to liquid. So from something that is hard to a liquid form. What is the best example of that? Ice. Ice is the best example. When ice warms up, it goes from being a solid mass, hard, to just water. So that is melting. Next one, shutters. Shutters. They cover the windows and they are made of wood. Now on page 5 you have a picture. This is Todd's house. Here is the window and a window upstairs. The white things on the window are shutters. They're called shutters. They're made of wood and they will open out. So like that. And his window's here, so they will close, open. They are to keep the sun out and to protect your house. So they are called shutters. Shutters. Next one. A cover. What is a cover? A cover is a blanket. It's another word for a blanket. So it's when you go into bed, get into bed, pull your covers over you to keep you warm, or pull your blanket over you to keep you warm. Next one is a front porch. Front porch. This may be a little bit hard in Korea. Where Frog is standing here on page 5 in Toad's house, he's standing on the front porch. It's this little place here, there he's standing. It doesn't have any walls around it. It just has a part of the roof that covers the front porch. So when you walk up the path, up the stairs, you come to the front porch. That's the front porch there. Now the last word we will do is blink, or past tense for blink is blinked, E-D, blink. When you open and close your eyes. That is blinking. So they are the words that I hope you can study while you're at home. Like I said before, if you don't understand the meaning of the words when you read the book, if the sentence doesn't make sense, make sure you have a look at the vocab words. Try and change the meaning and put them into where the word is that you don't understand, and try and understand the sentence. All right, so that is everything done. Now the last thing we have to do is have a look at the homework page. I hope that if you're at home, you can finish this. It's very simple. We will do a little bit of it together, and then I will leave you to do the rest of it. So have a look at page 56. Page 56, you have 4 circles. Now let's have a look at the top one here. The 2 circles are like rings that go across each other. Now, why do they do that? What is this called? What do we do with this? All right, very easy. First one says frog. On the right, it says toad. So let's draw our 2 circles. Okay. All right, so this one is for frog. This circle is for frog. This circle is for toad. But wait, what's happened? What's going on here? What is this? Why are they overlapping together? Because this one here is information that you write that is the same about these 2. Now what we are doing is comparing and contrasting these 2, a frog and a toad. So anything in here is the same. Here, it's just about frog. Here is just about toad. Now what is this called? What is this called? This is called a Venn diagram. Venn diagram. We use this to compare and contrast things. So what I want you to do at home is get as much information that you can about a frog and a toad that is different. Okay, first, one is what color? What color is a frog? Frogs are green. So, green, color. What color is a toad? A toad is usually a browny, yellowy color. So we'll just say a brown color. So a brown color. So these two are different. What is something that is same? All right, they are both animals. Okay, so you have to find something that is different between the frog and the toad. Put them here. Something that is same. All the things that are the same, put it here. Now, the last one you have to do is use the same type of Venn diagram down the bottom for you and your friend. So what is different about you and your friend? Is it your hair color? Are you taller than your friend? Are you shorter than your friend? Do you have long hair, short hair? Do you like different things? Do you play different sports? But what is the same, right? Everything that you can think of that is the same here, and what is different about you, and what is different about your friend. Okay, that's all we have time for today now. Remember, we were doing reading 2A for Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 4 o'clock. That's all we have time for, so see you next time. Bye-bye.
Today a reader, tomorrow a leader. SSET Englishtown.